We're back here on Business Casual. We are talking the art of side hustling. I got Chivon, Sats B, as well as apparently the Peel Region's Beyonce, Jahmeelah Campbell here to talk about side hustling and just the importance behind it. Sorry, I couldn't say that with a straight face. Anyways, one thing I gotta ask is, being that all three of you are side hustlers, how do you go about juggling your side hustle with your actual main hustle, which in this case is your full-time job? I know for me, doing my full-time job and doing something like Rogers TV or Business Casual, depending on whatever I do, sometimes there is a challenge. There is a challenge of where my energy should go. And I'm curious to see how you deal with that. And Chivon, we'll begin with you.
Honestly, I approach like the whole balance of, and I'm reminding myself that I have to take care of myself so I can take care of business. So for me, planning is like a huge part of like how I do that balance. Like I use like Sundays or my weekends or Saturday to kind of set out like what my schedule is going to look like, and try as best as I can to like have like just systems that will help me be organized. So whether it be meal prepping on Sunday, or maybe even one week maybe have somebody come in and do like meal prep, or like order my meals, or someone to come like clean the house or something. Like for me, that stuff is important so that I can focus on managing my energy versus trying to get more time, because we only get 24 hours.
Exactly.
So I rather focus on managing my energy and being able to focus my energy on the areas that need me most, and anything that's like non-essential, and if I can be delegated if possible, let it go. And that's kind of how I've kind of approached balance, because essentially there really isn't any balance. It's just kind of finding the rhythms and systems that work for you.
And that's a great way to put it, because I find that balance when you do have a side hustle with your full-time job, that's a consistent challenge. And in both worlds, or as many worlds as you may have, stuff can come up.
Absolutely.
Where you almost have to be very reactionary. And Sats, I'm curious, man. Every May, you're caught up in a huge festival here in the community called Desifest, which, if you ask me, I think is like the ultimate side hustle, because it just the amount of work and effort that goes into that. How do you go about juggling a big festival that you really just do with passion with running your own ad agency?
So right now I'm involved in 6 different things. Okay, and what I've realized over the last 10 years is if I'm going to do anything outside of Blue Band, which I'm 100% accountable for, if the partners involved are not people I can depend on, I don't care how much the potential is for success, I don't get involved. Because for me, having the right team to dedicate outside of the 9 to 5 hours is really important. And that's my #1 criteria now, and that gives me a chance to prioritize accountability, right? And I think it's prioritizing accountability is going to either make the side hustle pleasuring and you can do stuff in it, or you take on all of this stress that you'll never actually see the fruits of your labor. And so for me, that's the #1 trick for me. If I can't have a team, so very seldom do I go on an independently inspired idea, because I know it's not going to be successful, because I need other people to make me successful. And so once that sort of realization happened, I don't burn out anymore. I used to just work 22 hours a day because I'm the most important thing in every one of my hustle. Now it's not the case.
Well, especially since when you're the one that comes up with that idea, you're obviously going to hold yourself the most accountable. And you mentioned having a team. I think that's very excellent. I think having that trust and having a vision, but being like, hey, I need a team to help implement this, and sort of giving them the power, can be a difficult task at first, especially when you're so close to it, right? So I think that's very, very effective the way you laid it out. Jam, you teach during the day, and then once the school bell rings and all the kids are gone, you turn on the Jahmeelah Gamble we see here on Rogers TV, or the Jahmeelah Gamble that's out in the community hosting events. How do you go about the world's colliding? Because we've had conversations where you said you got your kids at school. Sometimes they recognize you on TV.
They do. It's cute.
And I've had that happen in my workplace, and it's always like an awkward conversation because I always try to keep the world separate. But how do you go about that?
For a while, I was keeping it really separate because I didn't know what my employer would think. And then I realized I was doing myself a disservice, because the work that I do speaks to my community. It speaks to my students and my colleagues. So who am I to hide something so great, So this year, my new tagline is connector of people, ideas, and energy. Everything I do connects with people. I bring about ideas, and I bring that energy. So that's why I'm able to manage everything without feeling like I'm burnt out, just because everything is connected in some way. So when I'm teaching, I'm practicing my public speaking skills. I'm getting new ideas. I'm getting new content for the community. When I'm vlogging, I'm strengthening my connections with other people. So everything is just like a nice, beautiful puzzle. And at the end of the day, I see a nice picture laid out in front of me.
Yeah, no, it's cool how you've been able to sort of take everything that you do and sort of brand it under that connecting umbrella, because I think that sort of, again, allows you to position yourself as a full package.
Absolutely.
Versus, Jam the educator versus Jam the TV host / Jam the event host. I think that's very excellent. One thing I do want to ask everybody across the table is, does a side hustle have to make you money? Because I think that's where a lot of people, when they think of side hustling, it's like, I got to make that quick fix. I got to make that extra cash to keep my, my lifestyle going, or to pay my bills. But does a side hustle have to make you money? And Sats, we'll begin with you.
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
Not how much. Not how much.
Yeah.
But when you put capital as a line item, it forces a certain level of discipline. Okay. And that's what I mean by gauging sort of the discipline to make money.
Yeah.
If you start off by saying this idea is going to make me $1 million, no. But if you say, hey, my time has a return, and the side hustle will have to have some sort of a compensation. Even if all I'm doing is breaking even at some point, that my gas and my expenses are covered. But when you start to put a capital number towards your time, you become a lot more disciplined versus just spending time. So I use it more from a discipline than aspirational. There are other ideas where it's a capital purpose.
Yeah.
You can invest some time and reap it. But 9 out of 10 times, it's a discipline for me more than anything.
Yeah. So anyone disagree?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
As soon as Sats responded, that's on Jam. Be like,
Queen bee.
Yeah.
No,
all right, let's hear it.
I agree with
Let's
your
hear it.
points. I see what you're saying. Chivon knows, and I've said this every time we've had this discussion, I get paid in 3 ways. I get paid in blessings, opportunity, and in money. There are things that I go to that I do for free, pro bono. There's connections I'm making there. I use it as an opportunity to strengthen my skills. Maybe it's a small audience. Let me go practice some new ideas. Let me, I learned a new technique in public speaking. Let me use this audience as a time to do it right now. And the way I look at it, my blessing bank is over full. That when I need to cash in, I'm gonna get that benefit back because I'm balancing. I'm not just money driven. I think a lot of entrepreneurs get so gung ho on money that they forget that there's connections and people that you meet along the way that it won't bring a paycheck now, but down the line it will.
all right, Chivon, let's see where your head's at.
Absolutely. I have a similar thought as Jahmeelah as well too. And also we have to remember that a lot of people who start a side hustle don't necessarily want to become a full-time entrepreneur or do it because they're driven by wanting to start a business. A lot of times it's just an outlet for their passion, or they're using it as a way to develop skills that they can apply to their career. So I think that every side hustler is different. So there are folks who are those traditional employedpreneurs who started with the intention of creating some income, creating some opportunities. But there are the folks who are passion driven, or like I like to call them passionpreneurs. And they're maybe just following something that they like to do. And as Jam mentioned, like they're looking at it from an opportunity to gain some other things from it, whether it be blessings, whether it be an investment of their time. So I definitely think you don't have to, money's not the only outcome of having a side hustle.
See, I'm very torn amongst all 3 of your answers, because I can relate to Sats being a club promoter back in my university days and volunteering, and then being like, hey, I need to start seeing a return because my time has a value. And before we cut to commercial break, just quickly, when does volunteering sort of max out when it comes to your side hustle? Like when does one person get to that point where it's like, I've really given a lot of my time here. I really want to see some capital return. And Jam, I'll let you answer that before we go to commercial break.
It's great to volunteer, absolutely, but I've learned now to put a cap on how long I'm volunteering.
Okay.
So I have no problem doing it throughout the year, but I have a rule that if it's more than 2 hours, here's my rate.
Yeah.
Anything, if it requires I have to travel, here's my rate. But if it's within the city and it's less than that, why not?
When we get back from commercial break, I actually want to touch on when a side hustle becomes detrimental to your time. Because sometimes you may have an ambition, but it might be working against you, right? Depending on how you look at it. We'll be right back here on Business Casual.